Hari Om, Namaskaram, Salaam Alaikum, peace be unto you. I want to talk about a topic which I believe is very relevant for especially my generation, so Gen Z, even the newer generations, obviously generation, I think it's Alpha, and even older people. The topic I want to talk about is how to be spiritual in the modern world. Because I believe this is more elusive than people think because of the differences in the context of spiritual teachings and the kind of modern world that we live in, which is changing so fast, right? And this is a problem that has been dealt with for many years, and honestly every generation. But by no means is this kind of like a commentary. This is just kind of my thoughts as a 20-something-year-old living in America in the modern generation, and what I think is relevant to consider, and how to kind of navigate the modern world, keeping these spiritual teachings in mind. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is, what is the modern world, and why is the modern world not the best place to imbibe spiritual teachings? There are certain forces in our modern life. I don't want to say Western society, but generally from dominant culture, which is tied to Western culture, undoubtedly. But also just kind of things that people are into, hidden assumptions that we have about our lives. They're just kind of normal, that nobody really questions or thinks about. And these things can be helpful sometimes, no doubt about that, but also they can be quite harmful at times spiritually. So the first force I want to talk about is the materialistic force, because the materialistic force is like such a big driver of people's lives today. It's sad to say, but it's true. Even spiritual people's lives, it definitely has to be reckoned with, and it's likely that people have even imbibed this as well. But the materialistic force is essentially the assumption that if I just look at my life like a buffet, like if I have a couple of great experiences, or many great experiences, like I travel to this country, that country, enjoy the food, see some shows, see some history, and come back. I have a great wife, great children, great job, great money. I'm just living life, right? I get good work-life balance, all these things. If I have all these things, in a nice little package, then I'm good. My life is good. I don't have to worry. Chilling. That's a very hidden assumption in our world today, I'll tell you. The spiritual teachings would say otherwise. That they'll say that you can have all these things, but it's not ultimately it's not going to fulfill. It has its place, there's no doubt. Like, you can still do these things, nothing wrong with that. But to say, okay, this is all that life is, all right, well, there might be some people who have an issue with that. With good reason. Because otherwise, why would we do this spiritual stuff anyways? If we had genuinely found, full satisfaction in all those things. But not only that, so the fact is that people will take these assumptions and then live their whole life with them. That if I just have these things, it would be how good. And unfortunately, in America, a lot of people, first of all, believe this. But the second thing is that it's like unquestionable. It's like nobody questions this, right? But you see it all the time. You see people at the height of their careers, when they hit, like, at the height of everything, the fame, the money, they're miserable. And the poor people they want to rise to the top, right? And that's like considered a success story. If I started from nothing and then now I have all the money, and I attracted a attractive woman, that's my life. Great. That's a success story. Now, I'm not putting down that, right? It's good upward income mobility is good, but it can't be the foundation of life. It can't be the foundation of life. And in your day-to-day life, you're gonna face this, like I face this, daily, because there are all these hidden assumptions being, shown to me. Like for instance, like they're kind of like there's kind of lower level things, like forces, for example, like advertising, commercials. These kind of add the subliminal messages in your mind. For example, Coca-Cola. I don't mean to call out a company, but that's what they do. I might have to cut that out. But yeah, I mean, many advertisements like kind of show their product as being like a part, like a part of your life. You know what I mean? Like, if I have this drink, for example, then I'm gonna feel fulfilled. I'm gonna have a happy family. Like this is what they depict in their commercials, right? Like everybody's laughing, everybody's happy. I got friends. I even got it might even make you more attractive. So all these things, and this all based on that assumption that I mentioned earlier, that if I just have the perfect buffet of life, I'm fulfilled. I don't need anything. Yet every spiritual tradition refutes this. Every single one. No, if you have all this, it's all temporary, so you won't be fulfilled. You cannot serve God and mammon, money. But you can take that more generally to be, the temporary things of life. And there are many, many such teachings in the Gospels that parallel this for sure. Obviously, also in Vedanta, this is all over the place, right? Sri Krishna says to not keep your mind on the sense objects, right? Because it restricts your ability to attain, obviously, pratyahara, but also dharana and dhyana, for sure. And then obviously, teaching is all over the place, right? They have refuted this top to bottom. It's not true. Otherwise, you don't need God? I have everything in life. Why would I need God? Right? If I have all the things in life and I'm fully satisfied, I don't need God. But we observe that that's not the case, right? Because you still have a hole in your life. So this kind of comes to how should, in my opinion, what's the best way, or what's a good way for a spiritual person to approach modern life? Not as religion being like a cookie. This is kind of the analogy that I thought of. It's like, I have a good meal, I have, the vegetables, the fruits, the main course of the meal, and then for dessert I have a cookie, right? So the analogy being that your life is like the meal, like your family life, your job, your work life, pleasures, whatever, is your meal, right? And religion is your cookie. Meaning, I just take it, just top it off, just like sprinkles on the ice cream. But this is the complete backwards way of looking at religion, which unfortunately in the modern world, that's kind of how we're driven to approach religion. Is that it's just a little bit, yeah, it's just another thing in the buffet. Yeah, exactly. It's just another thing in the buffet, right? I have some family, I have some God, right? It's like that, right? But no, I mean, I don't believe it's hard to progress spiritually like that, because you're hindered. You're hindered by not placing what is at the, because for example in the Gospels it says you have to build your life on something sturdy, right? Not like the foolish man who builds it on something fragile and, one storm comes and, breaks the whole thing apart. Because that's the thing, right? If you build your life on something temporary, which you know what that is at this point, then one trial will come and you'll all be shattered. You'll be all over the place. Gita makes the same point. The Gita says the same thing. So what you do is you hold God as the center of your life, as the foundation of your life. Then everything comes secondary. Because without this, the materialistic forces will win. Because they're so strong. They're so strong. And the point is not like you're always above them, right? Because that's a progression we're talking about. But it's not as if that has to be the case, that you always have, because it's a right for you to enjoy certain things, certain pleasures, and the world offers that to you, right? It's not as if I have to reject all of everything because I'm supposedly a spiritual person. No, the world has given you so many opportunities to enjoy, of course, right? But it's not your foundation. It's not your foundation, because if it were your foundation, one trial will come, you'll give up all your religion because it was never the foundation in the first place. Your religion. It's not real religion. It's a cookie. It's sprinkles on your ice cream. It's not the milk. You know what I mean? It's not milk. So if your religion is like milk to your ice cream, now it's like you cannot have ice cream without the milk. Like I cannot have life without I cannot even look to pleasure without my religion. That's kind of a, weird concept, right? Because usually pleasure and religion don't really go together. But now we're saying that religion is fundamental to our pleasure itself. It springs forth from it. As it's like a spiritually necessary thing for the sake of whatever is at the root. And that changes, your perspective a lot. Changes because it changes how you approach certain pleasures. So now when you look at sales, right, at the store, or you look at commercials, right? Now you don't see it in the same way. And now you could look at TV shows and the subliminal messaging that they're trying to give. For example, you could take like Friends, very popular TV show, right? Friends. What do they consider a normal life? What are they depicting as a normal life, right? You can see clearly, because in the sense you don't start dreaming, what if I was this guy? What if I was that guy? And if you do, it's just like music, it cannot penetrate your mind because you're rooted in something that is unmoving. That's profound. So you won't be swept by whatever subliminal messaging that is you're being bombarded with all the time. Fortunately, it's a reality that we all have to deal with. But I believe if you keep those, if you kind of keep those things as the root, as the scriptures say, then it transforms the way you interact with the modern world. People say doom scrolling is the problem of our time, right? Then even that will change. Doom scrolling will change. Because you're rooted in something that is unmoving, that will give the necessary attention to things that are not as profound. Necessary meaning limited, right? Limited. Because whatever attention is required for these things is limited. It won't be your life. It'll become the sprinkles, right? Now you switch it, right? You switch it from religion being the sprinkles to the other thing being the sprinkles. Temporary things, pleasures. They become the sprinkles. Like I can still enjoy my ice cream without it, right? So I don't need it as much. In fact, I could go without it eventually. Maybe now I want my sprinkles, but I don't need it because I still have the ice cream, right? So that's what we're talking about here, and I believe if you kind of, this is a progression, right? This is not, like I said, this is not going to happen tomorrow. Everybody is in a journey for this to get to these kinds of states, and yeah, I believe it can do wonders for you. It can help you progress spiritually very much. And I hope, and I pray for everyone watching that it helps them, and it helps them achieve whatever amazing goals that they want to in their life. And I have no doubt that it will. So I appreciate you guys listening. I hope it helped, and I hope this is a positive message, not just a negative one. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.